Welcome to the Exploring the Bible channel. This is a channel about using software tools to explore and study the Bible. In the last episode, I showed you how to get eSword installed and configured for what we're going to be doing here. Today, I'm going to be giving you a tour of eSword. So let's get started. So here we have eSword set up as it probably is on your computer now, showing basically not only the modules which were installed by the eSword installer itself, but also the ones we added to it. So we have the English Standard Version of the Bible, the King James Version, the King James Version with Strong's numbers. So what you see here is, for example, and, as, Moses. There's the Greek for Moses. Lifted up the serpent. Okay, so this is Greek because it's in the New Testament. The Old Testament will be Hebrew, and all the numbers will start with H instead of G. But that's what this is for. So that's your King James with Strong's numbers. We have the Net Bible here, which you can get for free from the download from the netbible.com that we explained in the previous video. And then we have the NIV. This is my copy from years ago of the NIV 1984 version. It is no longer available for sale, but it's the one that's in my head, and so that's the one that I keep in my eSword. Because if I'm looking for a phrase that I've got in my head, it came from the NIV 84, and that's what I need to be searching. I'm trying to find it. So that's the one I've got. You can put in anything here you want. Maybe you picked up the NIV or the Christian Standard Bible or one of those. And then we have the ability to compare. This shows all of the installed versions. Now you'll find here that I have lots more installed that are not showing up here right now. I've got just a few of them selected that we're using in this course. So then we have parallel. So I can come in here and choose different Bibles. So I can say, let's take a look at what the English Standard Version says and compare it to, for example, the NIV 84. Is it? NIV would be there. NIV 84. And I can see the two side by side, verse by verse. I can also, if I want to do that, I can add in the King James. See what it says in here. Again, you can continue on to all of these. And add as many as you have installed, pretty much. It gets a little busy to read them all on the screen at some point. That's parallel. I'll show you one other thing we can do here. So we're right now here in this windowed version where it shows the four windows, or you can have 3 or 4. I'll show you that in a minute. But I can go to just Bible, and now I get the whole screen for those versions. Or I can get the whole screen for my NIV 84. So let's go back here and continue our tour. But that's kind of how you can use the windows to look at the Bible. Okay, we'll look at a lot more things about the Bible. Let's just go ahead and do 1 or 2 other things. You can do a search in the Bible. I can search for, well, right here's one I've already done. Let's just go through here and say baptism. Okay. Here are all verses in the Bible that have the word baptism. Other forms of that word that you might want to search for, like baptized, so forth. That's in the NIV. You can search in any particular version you want. In a little bit, I'll show you how you can search in all of the versions at once. You can search for the exact phrase, all of the words, any of the words, or you can put in what's called a regular expression syntax search, which I will not get into. That's something, if you're a programmer, you might know already how to do that. Okay, you can search the whole Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, or several subsets of the Bible. So that's the search, and just you can do other things with this, like you can create a verse list from the results. You can print your list. That's kind of the search. Let me go ahead and show you while I'm at it. The tools uh, Bible extended search. That's what I'm looking for. Bible, then extended search. This is where you can search, let's say baptism. And I can search for all the words in various subsets, including whichever translations of the Bible, whichever versions of the Bible I want to search. Check off the ones I want it to search, or I can say select all, and then it will do the search for me. So, extended search. And you'll play around with that. So, that was Bibles. Let's take over here at the commentaries. I'm going to start out with the Ante-Nicene Fathers. Basically what you have here in John 3:16, it's a list of places the early church writers referred to John 3:16. Of course, they didn't call it John 3:16 then, but they called it for God so loved the world. So God loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And this is Tertullian. We will eventually get to a point where we will have some resources installed here where we can actually search for the context in which he said that. And that becomes a useful thing for finding out what the early church writers considered to be the Bible and what they thought the Bible said and what they thought it meant. What they thought it meant is probably a little bit less interesting than what they thought it said, what the words were in their Bible. But that's a useful thing to do. Albert Barnes. Albert Barnes is kind of what you might call a moderate reformed teacher. Reformed being like Calvinism. Not Calvinist. John Calvin would be not moderate, but Barnes is moderate. But he comes from the Reformed side of the spectrum. Why that's important, we'll compare him to Adam Clarke, who is on the other end, what you might call the Arminian end of the spectrum. And you'll find those two quarreling with each other on certain passages that pertain to those philosophies, or those perspectives. So you will find it interesting to go from Barnes to Clarke on certain passages. Both of them cover the Bible in pretty much a verse-by-verse form. Meyer is one that, frankly, I do not use very much. It comes in with your basic installation. I left it here because it's in yours, in case we should decide to refer to it. Net Notes. Now, what I've got in here comes from having purchased the Net Bible. And so I have the complete notes. And what it gives you is, in some cases, some pretty in-depth discussion of Greek words and why they chose the translation that they did in that verse. They've got like 3 notes on John 3:16 on particular Greek words and how they chose to translate it. So that's useful for in-depth study if you decide to get into that, and it would be a good idea to purchase it, support it. People's New Testament. This is from a restoration movement, which is, in case you were not aware, that's our family of churches. Comes from the mainline churches of Christ, from the basically Christian church, independent Christian churches. There's a number of different offshoots of that, but this is the commentary that maybe is the closest to how we perceive the Bible, the People's New Testament. But you'll be able to compare that against these others. Okay, Pulpit Commentary is an extremely in-depth. In years gone by, people would their favorite Christmas present from somebody would be one of the books of the Bible in the Pulpit Commentary. So here you can get the whole thing, free download. So it's not been that many years that you've actually been able to get the whole thing, which was highly prized among preachers in conservative churches for generations. The Treasury of Scriptural Knowledge. On a verse-by-verse basis, they give you other verses that refer to this or that have something to do with the same topic. So it's kind of a topical cross-reference. And it's one of the most extensive ones. And you can just go through here when you're reading a verse of the Bible, and you can look at what other passages say about that subject and get a better idea of what that subject means. Instead of just picking one verse out of the Bible without any context around it, you've got some people who are deep students of the Bible who have connected these verses to one another. Over here we have the Strongs. I'm going to go to the Bible first and pick a Greek word. God so loved the world. Okay, we're going to go to that word. Okay. When I click on it, you see it comes up here in the Strong's Dictionary with the same definition that would appear basically when you pop it up. But you can sit here and look at it. You can copy the Greek word. You can look at how it's pronounced according to Strong's. We can get other. There's a couple of other free versions of this that you can get, which you might want to consider adding a Thayer, Thayer. We'll look at that at some point. You can also, let's say I take this, right, this is Greek 1223. Copy that. Copy. Let me do a search in the King James for Greek 1223. That's going to be pretty extensive, less common word. But this will show you every verse where that Greek word occurs. And in the case of many words, it will be a good way to understand better what that word means by reading how it was used in lots of different sentences. So that's a good way also to understand the Bible. But just something you could probably never have done without a computer before. But now you can easily get a list of all the verses that use that word, and then do a study of those verses. The English dictionary is just a dictionary of English words. But you can look up, say, baptize here. And what you get is baptism, and it gives you a definition of it. It tells you a little bit about it, and also tells you about John the Baptist. So that's the kind of thing you can get from the Smith's Dictionary. Okay. Over here with the notes, you can do something called journal notes, which is a different set of notes for every day. It goes on perpetually through the calendar and year by year by year. You can take notes every day. It can be your journal. Study notes. This is by verse of the Bible. So you could write, in effect, your own commentary here, verse by verse. Here's what I want to say about John 3:16. Okay, and you write it there, and it'll save it there. You'll have one place to write for each verse of the Bible. And then there's topic notes, where you can enter a title, and then you enter your notes for whatever topic you want to take notes on. You want to take notes on baptism. You could have a title called baptism and put all your notes here. But what I do with this is I put in the date in a form of like 2020 0818, and then I'll take notes that day. Like in church on a particular Sunday, I'll take my notes, and I'll be able to go back for years into the past and see my notes from every church service or from every other event that I took notes in that way. So it's a way of taking notes by a title that you choose. So anyway, different way of taking notes. And this is what I do when you see me sitting with my laptop in church typing. I'm typing into my topic notes, the notes on that service. So that's a quick overview of what you see here on the screen. Of course, you can scroll around in here and pick different verses. Joel 1, there we are. And let's go back to Modern English Version. And you can, so basically that's where you go to navigate in the Bible. I mentioned already that you can go to get the whole screen, the Bible full screen. You can get commentaries full screen. Maybe more interesting to get to something like Barnes, Mark. There's a little bit more to say. There's pulpit. Here's where you can read the pulpit commentary on a particular verse or a particular chapter in this case. Then we have dictionaries and your editors. So that's where you can go into full screen. But here's where you get them in the four corners form. What I'm going to do now, you see over here this little pin in the corner? I'm going to take this editor and I'm going to pin it. It's going to go to the left side. See the editors up here? Go back and get it, but it gets it out of the way so you can see more in your commentary. And then I can do the same thing with these dictionaries. I can see more in the Bible. And that's actually what I'll do is I'll put the editors over here when I'm at church in the editor back, and I will pin commentary out of the way. and then I can just take notes. I'll be taking notes, reading the Bible, taking notes, reading the Bible. And for example, I can put over here Joel 1:3, highlight it, use this little bubble here, this little yellow bubble. It turns it into a link where I can get a pop-up of that verse in the midst of my notes that I'm taking. So a useful thing in terms of using the notes is you can get direct references over to your scriptures in your notes. Okay, and you'll find. Let me show. I think I kind of showed that before. Let me go back to the commentaries because they do the same. Commentaries. But you see, I mean, he's got Joel 3:16, and I can click on that, and it comes up, and it will jump to the verses that he references. Joel 3:2, and it changes us to Joel 3:2. And you can put it in a range of verses. Here we got 3 verses coming up. So this is the kind of things you can do with the links. Those are quite useful. In the commentary, one other thing I need to point out. You can say, let me see the book comments. This is on the introduction to the whole book. Let me see chapter comments. There might be chapter comments just for a particular chapter in some commentaries, or you can go straight to verses. And chapter and verse in this particular case are the same. So that's a quick overview of the things you can do in the commentaries. We'll go back to the way we had this set up originally, just kind of for wrap up. So this is where we started. Okay. Now you've already seen download. You can download any of these guys. Proxy settings you probably don't have to mess with, but if you're having trouble getting to the internet, and if you know how that works, you can go in there and tinker with that. Tools. We have other tools besides Bible reading. We have daily devotions. You can download devotions. Prayer requests is a way to keep track of your prayer requests. Scripture memory tool. They have this thing called Sermon Illustrations, which is grayed out. I have never used it. Graphics viewer, so you can go in there. Let's see what they have available for graphics. It's a timeline of the Bible. This one is somebody's timeline of the Bible. Okay. You can see classic maps. You just explore through these. Ancient Near East maps. So here you got all these different maps from the Bible time. Palestine under the Herods. That's the map of Palestine in Herod's kingdom. Okay, so that's an example of the graphics viewer. Got a bunch of things to play with. Reference library. We're going to spend some time here, but we have to go get some references. I'm going to show it to you. We do have Adam Clarke's entire sanctification, which is his view on how a person becomes sanctified. It's a very large work. This is one that's in mine. I've downloaded. These are things I've got downloaded that you don't really have yet, but you can go get them. Fox's Book of Martyrs. You may have seen that in the available downloads. Institutes of the Christian Religion. That's John Calvin. So you'll find Adam Clarke arguing with John Calvin in their references. I got some notes I took from Jacoby on Calvinism. Josephus. Now this is worthwhile ancient writing about Antiquities of the Jews. Has some useful information. Some of the quotes you'll find, well, actually not the quotes there, but you'll find references in Antiquities of the Jews to historical events that the churches went through in the early church. And you can create your own. As you can see, I created this one on Jacoby. So that's basically some of the things you have in the reference library, or you can get tools, reference library. And there's a step reader, which basically is a way of reading outside materials, including I think, get PDFs in here and bring them in. That's those are some of the tools available. Again, these are just things to go play with. You can just do what I'm doing here, and it's easy enough to do. Display settings, font settings. You can change your app theme, language. All the things we've done in here up to this point have been in English. You can get these in any of the languages you see here. Of course, there's probably a lot more modules available in English for whatever reason, but if you are a Spanish speaking, you can get Espanol. You can get pretty much anything you might want. Portuguese, lots of different translation versions. And that's just for the app language. You can also get Bibles in even more languages than that. You can tell it what to do with, these are just options for how you want the application to behave. And this is an alternative to these buttons right here. So that's probably enough to give you an idea of what you can do with the application. In subsequent classes and live streams, we will start talking about, we've got the tools, let's do something useful with them. And that's the goal of this class, is to help you to be able to do those useful things with eSword. So I hope you'll come back, and I hope this is useful for you to draw closer to God and to know His Word. Thank you for coming, and please come back.